One of the most significant and turbulent periods in American history is happening right now. Investors like us are living through the greatest wealth transfers of our lifetimes as the government is visibly collapsing and the financial system is buckling under the strain. The masses are fleeing in terror, yet those privy to the inner workings of the situation are making fortunes here. Your money is not being advised by this. I want you to pay attention to what I've prepared for you before we go into anything too in-depth. I made something called the XRP Millionaire Blueprint if you want a detailed plan and are serious about making money off of the current market situation. Everything you could possibly need is right there. An informative film, a visually appealing infographic, a robust document, and much more. Thus, it is clear how everything fits together. See the pinned comment down below the video for the answer. This is an essential step. Simply said, this will provide you with the roadmap that prior to making a major decision, the majority of people wish they had. Is everything clear? We will jump right into it, for the simple reason that we have never seen the U.S. government so close to collapse in contemporary history. Now that the government shutdown has begun, 750,000 workers are being furloughed every day, costing an estimated $400 million in missing wages. Be advised that this is not a practice run. We are not speculating. This is occurring at this very moment. Chaos reigns throughout the federal system when the government runs out of road for the first time since 2018. Put it in your mind. We went from thinking this would all be worked out with a last-minute deal to waking up to a world where vital services are stopped, tens of thousands of federal employees aren't working, and the political system appears entirely dysfunctional in just a few hours. Almost 100,000 federal workers resigned in a single morning, adding insult to injury. An unprecedented level of resignation. That's significant. You can see how delicate this system is with that enormous shockwave. People are understandably curious about the implications for the markets. How will this impact your investing portfolio? Is this simply background noise, or is a complete collapse imminent? To help you better grasp this so that you don't make the same expensive mistakes that others are, I'll give you the rundown. The first key is here. In the long run, market volatility has been remarkably low during government shutdowns. I couldn't agree more. Looking at every shutdown in recent history reveals that the S&P 500 actually rises a year after the shutdown, 86% of the time. Gains of 12.7% are typical. So if you could only maintain your composure and investment, you would have made a profit nearly every time. So does it mean there won't be any immediate consequences? In fact, the market often does a head-to-head during the closure itself, occasionally in a downward, lateral, or ascending direction. However, it's risky. Plus, uncertain times bring new chances. Fear can be turned into gains by buying declines if you're smart. I am doing precisely that. As everyone else is freaking out, I'm counting down the days till I can buy all of my favorite assets at a discount and stack them. All cryptocurrencies, including XRP, are part of that, because there is a far larger story that the media is omitting from their coverage of the shutdowns and disruption. Take a step back and examine the broader view. An example of this is the public prediction by billionaire Telegram founder and one of the most powerful internet entrepreneurs working today, Pavel Durov, that Bitcoin will reach $1 million per coin. Give that some thought. We are not dealing with a faceless Twitter account that is trying to promote a coin. This individual has a history of creating billion-dollar businesses, ties to worldwide finance, and a platform with hundreds of millions of users. One takes notice when an individual of his caliber makes a public call like that. The SEC is also seriously contemplating opening up on-chain trading for U.S. companies. Give that some serious consideration. Transactions worth trillions of dollars pass through the U.S. stock market annually. Tokens like XRP and other digital asset infrastructure would see an overnight explosion in demand if even a small portion of that transitions to blockchain. It will be here in the next decade. While most people are engrossed in the drama surrounding the government shutdown, this is now being planned and debated. Do not get sidetracked. This is my repeated message. Disruption, it's just noise. The true narrative revolves around the current systemic transition towards finance powered by blockchain. They want you to sell in a panic, the old guard says. In order to ensure that they have the greatest positions when these new systems launch, they want to shake you to your core. That's the reason why those who grasp this concept become wealthy, while those who don't wind up bankrupt. Here's an example for you. What transpired during the most recent significant shutdown in late 2018? People sold, sentiment plummeted, and markets fell. What, however, followed? The start of the crypto explosion in 2019 and 2020 coincided with a huge recovery in the stock market, which continued until 2021. Those gains could have changed your life if you had sold during that fear. You reaped huge rewards for holding or purchasing additional. Though it never rhymes, history does tend to repeat itself. At this particular moment, the rhyme seems to be quite familiar. So let's get one thing straight. Yes, it's chaotic right now. No federal employees turning up for work, upset with services, arguing politicians on television. It is terrifying. Zooming out, though, makes it quite clear that this is really a shakeout before the subsequent leg higher. I say that with all seriousness. The numbers back it up. Evident from the trend over the long run, it is currently demonstrated by the stance of major institutions. Actually, a really ironic indicator has just gone off. Investors need not be concerned about a government shutdown, according to the notorious CNBC host Jim Cramer. The meaning of that is immediately apparent to anyone familiar with the reverse Cramer index. In more than half of the cases, it has paid off to do the complete opposite of what he suggests. If he says, "Don't worry," then the wise investors will begin to brace themselves for fluctuations. In the near term, that is just what I anticipate. A fall, some frantic selling, and then a shockingly strong recovery. Now for the exciting part. The cryptocurrency industry as a whole, and XRP in particular, stands to gain a lot. Why? Investors are seeking assets outside of the flawed government system as traditional markets falter. As tokens go, XRP isn't your average speculation. In the world of international money transfers, it is an essential component. There has to be a decentralized, quick, borderless alternative. Every big thing that makes people doubt the government makes that argument stronger. That's why I always make sure to stock up when situations like these arise. In my opinion, chances like these don't come around very often. Corruption in government, widespread use of blockchain technology in institutions, and prominent figures like Pavel Durov predicting Bitcoin prices in the seven figures do not coincide. The time has come. If you don't seize the opportunity, you'll be left wondering why you allowed fear to hold you back in the future. Because most people are still glued to the headlines and not the facts, let's delve even further into this. It does feel disastrous if you're just taking a cursory glance at the headlines. Shutdown, resignations, panic. It becomes clear that the shutdown is merely a means to quicken changes that were previously underway when one takes a step back and observes the big picture. Now consider the signal that the market has been making over the past 12 months. One of the most aggressive cycles of interest rate hikes in U.S. history was experienced by us. It was predicted by many that it would have a devastating effect on the economy, markets, and cryptocurrency. Still, we find ourselves in this situation. Stocks are at record highs, Bitcoin is doing well, and XRP is not only alive and well, but also the subject of a worldwide discussion over international money transfers. And it is perseverance. That tells you there's more going on behind the surface. Here is the reality. At this very moment, blockchain technology is at the core of a global wiring change. Ironically, the closure has shown how inadequate the previous system was. All levels of government would come to a standstill if 750,000 employees suddenly quit showing up for work. The biggest resignation event in history would be created if 100,000 employees decided to leave. That is delicate. Contrast that with systems that are not centralized. The Bitcoin network is impregnable. The XRP ledger does not allow validators to be furloughed. Anyone paying attention can see the difference now. I say, don't get distracted by the noise because of this very reason. Keep your attention on the structural change. It is about to transpire that value worth trillions of dollars will be transferred onto blockchain railroads. Let's dissect the SEC's action because this isn't your average news story. U.S. stocks and the stock market as a whole could soon be able to trade on blockchain, according to the SEC. This is not a minor suggestion. There's no maybe in that. They are actively investigating potential ways to integrate the stock market with blockchain technology. Now that's huge. Why? Reason being, the size of the U.S. equity market is more than that. There is no financial market on earth that is more liquid than this one. Here we are talking about a market capitalization of over $40 trillion and a yearly trading volume of trillions of dollars in equities and exchange-traded funds. Its size is unparalleled. Now picture the consequences if even a fraction of that enormous inflow of funds starts going through the blockchain. It's more than just a technical upgrade. A paradigm change has occurred. This is a huge affirmation for digital materials. As a result, the world learns that blockchain technology is integral to international monetary systems and not just a fad. Financial institutions, including banks, brokerages, and custodians, will be unable to overlook it. A tokenized system will compel them to integrate, adopt, and compete. When that happens, the value of digital assets will change irrevocably. More folks don't realize how near it is. It becomes even more intriguing from this point on. When the SEC considers this, it is essentially conceding that blockchain technology is better than Wall Street's current infrastructure. Blockchain technology excels in all areas: settlement times, transparency, and security. There have been cumbersome intermediary-ridden methods in the stock market for decades that resolve trades days later. Blockchain technology allows for immediate settlement. This is the exact use case that Ripple has been developing for: global settlement at scale in real time with no friction, and that's where XRP comes in. The real actors are getting ready to put the financial markets onto decentralized rails, while the populace are freaking out about furloughed workers. That's why it's crucial that you remain attentive. Coming full circle, let's talk about cryptocurrency prices. I know many of you are curious about the implications for your investment portfolios. Yes, volatility is possible in the near future. I can practically assure that. There will always be a spike in short-term sales when shutdowns cause uncertainty. However, the subsequent events are crucial. After a market crash, it usually does more than just rebound. It usually comes out on top. This is due to the fact that in the months after a closure, there is typically a push for more accommodating policies, increased liquidity, and stimulus. Put it in your mind. Government shutdown in the United States does not indicate fiscal strength. Doing so reveals your frailty. This indicates that the current state of the system is not sustainable. To a large extent, that is what motivates the Federal Reserve and lawmakers to take action. What else have we witnessed thus far? Price reductions soon to follow. Shift toward less stringent regulations. What does a less stringent policy accomplish? Risk assets are pushed into a state of liquidity. Equity gains, crypto advantages, XRP has advantage. What most people overlook is this other viewpoint, so allow me to share it with you now. As soon as a large number of government employees quit, the mainstream media reports that a catastrophe has occurred. On the other hand, you could say it's a drive to eliminate waste. The United States government is cumbersome due to its excessive spending, excessive bureaucracy, and overall bloat. There might be some temporary chaos when tens of thousands of people go. However, in the long run, it may serve as a catalyst for more streamlined processes. Efficiency is often rewarded by markets. Once again, this demonstrates how blockchain-based systems are immune to human frailties like these. This is where the majority of investors go wrong. So let's speak about psychology for a second. When this happens, panic sets in. Headlines may be terrifying. You look on as prices fall. The sound of influential people yelling is everywhere. You freak out, you deal with sales, you get out. In reality, you're just selling off your possessions to someone else at a discount, even though you believe you're protecting yourself. This is a regular occurrence. Whenever there is a market cycle, timid investors get scared and leave. Plus, in every cycle, the people that rode out the slump or were patient with their purchases come out on top. The example of the 2018 shutdown can be used again if necessary. Public opinion plummeted during the record-breaking 35-day shutdown. There was widespread despair that the market would never bounce again. However, Bitcoin was starting its second big rise a year later, and the S&P was up double digits. The purchasers at that time were the ones who ultimately reaped the benefits. This dynamic is still active at this very moment. And if you still believe it's all theory, consider the hard data. There has been an increase in liquidity during each and every big bull cycle in cryptocurrency. The initial meteoric rise of Bitcoin occurred in 2013 due to easy financing and expansion policies. Ethereum and XRP had a meteoric rise in 2017 due to the world's improved economy and plentiful credit. Zero interest rates and stimulus checks sent the market soaring to unprecedented heights in 2021. As blockchain adoption speeds up, we find ourselves once again gazing at yet another turning point toward relaxation. History is virtually yelling out the following stanza instead of rhyming here. Because of its distinctive position relative to the market as a whole, let's also discuss XRP in particular. The story of Bitcoin is that of digital gold. Let me tell you about Ethereum, the platform for smart contracts. The story of global settlement is XRP. The importance of quick, borderless, decentralized settlement is more than ever before in a world when the U.S. government is unable to even settle its own budget. This is not exaggeration, it is fact. The more time that passes in Washington, the stronger XRP's case becomes. Keep in mind that Ripple is still making waves on a worldwide scale. Collaborations with financial institutions, integrations with system for electronic payments, and trials with national monetary authorities. The fact that Washington is in disarray does not make these things go away. On the contrary, they quicken, considering that other parts of the globe are trying to find substitutes. That is why nations in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East are rushing to embrace blockchain technology, while the United States is embroiled in internal strife. XRP occupies the exact center of that. Allow me to say this now. Okay, I see now. Feeling overwhelmed is a common emotion right now. It seems like the whole world is crumbling, but you need to teach yourself to notice details that other people miss. Even though some see it as a collapse, the wise investors see it as an opportunity. The wise investors view what seems like the end as actually the start of a new cycle. This is the kind of situation that gives rise to riches. Here is the change in perspective that you require. Consider years rather than weeks or days. The signal of a global transition should not be obscured by the din of a shutdown. Keep an eye on the adoption trend. Don't let a dip scare you. You will not only make it through this time, you will flourish if you can keep that outlook. The irony is that the situation that the government shutdown was intended to deflect from may possibly be getting worse. Furloughed employees may be in the news, but authorities are secretly getting ready for stock settlements based on blockchain technology. Even as influential people cry out in fear, billionaires are predicting that Bitcoin will reach $1 million. Even when workers leave, decentralized systems continue to function normally. That is the true tale. The shutdown, the wave of resignations, the volatility, the actions of the SEC, the adoption by institutions, and the predictions of billionaires all add up to one conclusion. We are on the cusp of the most monumental monetary shift that any of us will ever see. Whether or if it will come is not the question. Whether you're ready for it when it comes is the question. Take a look at the world news. In Europe, the digital euro is being prepared by the European Central Bank. Central bank digital currencies are being tested by several Asian governments. Digital asset-based cross-border settlements are now in the experimental stage in the Middle East. These nations' administrations aren't sitting around hoping that Washington would sort itself out. They are proceeding with confidence because they understand that the worldwide distribution of wealth will be controlled by whoever owns the infrastructure of the coming financial period. Moreover, domestically, the United States is mired in budgetary disputes and a partial government shutdown. And yet, the paradox remains. The U.S. isn't getting ahead because of that dysfunction. In fact, it makes it more likely to embrace new systems more quickly. Pressure for alternatives increases when conventional methods continue to fail, which is why blockchain rails aren't an option to consider for the future. You can't do without them. Why is this important for us as investors, though? Reason being, money isn't wiped out when the world switches systems. The information is transmitted. From individuals rooted in the past paradigm to those situated in the present, it progresses. With digital assets, that is precisely what is going to transpire. Because of its function as a worldwide settlement layer, XRP is fundamental to this transfer. Here, consider the scale. International transactions totaling trillions of dollars occur daily. Many financial institutions, including banks and remittance providers, continue to use antiquated, inefficient, and costly methods. XRP provides a quick, final, and almost free solution to the problem. Now picture that same method used in a scenario when conventional financial infrastructure is facing strain, such as a government shutdown, a shortage of funds, or a geopolitical crisis. There is no longer any doubt about the value proposition. During this period of turmoil, that is why institutions are not selling. They're stocking up. We observe the identical trend in each major cycle. Shoppers are in a state of terror. Over time, institutions amass. The same retailers that sold out of fear rush back in at higher prices as adoption headlines start appearing in waves, causing prices to explode. The play is the book's oldest. Which side of that argument are you rooting for? Let's take a much broader view. The United States' national debt is currently above $34 trillion and continues to rise. The cost of interest alone is skyrocketing. Without significant reforms, the current system will not be able to continue operating for much longer. Politicians may be arguing over budget cuts, but the underlying problem needs a structural solution. A new, more efficient, more open financial system is what you need. For that reason, blockchain technology is essential. Nobody can stop it. Finally, the most important thing, the rate of adoption increases during emergencies. Peruse the annals of time. The dot-com bust caused an exponential growth in internet adoption. After the financial crisis of 2008, online shopping became quite popular. The introduction of new technologies has been fueled by each and every big disruption. This is going to be no different. The government closure, the departures, the inefficiency, everything here is driving blockchain adoption. Here is where cycles are won or lost. So let's speak psychology again. Those that benefit financially from these shifts aren't the type to seek out post-transition hoopla. People with this trait are able to weather storms of uncertainty while keeping their eyes on the prize. Most investors are utterly frozen right now. As soon as they lay eyes on the mayhem, they go still. The ones who are aware of cycles, nevertheless, are subtly shifting their positions. Bitcoin's acceptance doesn't occur in a straight line, which is why billionaires like Pavel Durov can confidently make projections in the seven figures. It comes on suddenly, catching most individuals unaware. Also, XRP is going to reap a disproportionate share of the rewards. Why? Bitcoin is like digital gold in its narrative. Smart contracts are the spine of Ethereum's story. The story of XRP, however, is the key to resolving the trillion-dollar payment concern. Nobody needs a speculative meme token when countries can't afford to pay their employees, institutions are having trouble staying afloat, and international transactions are becoming more difficult. Infrastructure is necessary. Infrastructure is XRP. That's why, despite the constant barrage of temporary distractions, my faith in the future is stronger than ever. Plus, I have something else to share with you. This cycle goes beyond pricing alone. Problematically, it concerns the question of legitimacy. The concept of digital assets was considered experimental for more than 10 years. Currently, the SEC is contemplating the possibility of on-chain stock trading. Blockchain technology is being used by banks. Digital currencies are being tested by central banks. That's mainline. It has been widely adopted. And life-altering parabolic swings occur when retail FOMO meets mainstream adoption. So now what are we left with? Due to this, we are now at a crossroads. A side with headlines, panic, and fear, and the other with short-term noise. Conversely, faith, evidence, acceptance, and a once-in-a-lifetime chance. This option is available in every cycle. On top of that, just a tiny fraction of the time gets it right. That's why the vast majority of profits wind up in the pockets of a small number of investors. This is why I keep emphasizing it. Noise shouldn't frighten you. It's being engineered right now, so don't let fear deprive you of it. If there's one thing we can learn from the past, it's that periods of disorder always come before periods of understanding. We end shutdowns. The governments turn back. Markets experience a surge. Moreover, blockchain adoption is only picking up speed despite all this. All right, let's resolve this one by one. U.S. government is in disarray. The government resignation event that you are witnessing is the largest in history. One example is the SEC's public interest in blockchain technology for stock settling. Bitcoin might be worth $1 million, according to several millionaires. Digital currencies are being tested by central banks around the world. Ripple and XRP are at the core of practical payment solutions. There's a reason for that. Convergence describes it. Technology, money, and time have all come together in this. Furthermore, convergence instances are rare. When this happens, the definition of wealth changes for the well-positioned. We are now in that position. The last thing I want to say is this. Remember that things might change at a moment's notice. Government shutdowns and resignations will be front-page news one day. New blockchain settlement systems go live the following day, making news all over again. The pricing action appears unstable one day. The following day, it's tearing through previously unimaginable levels. That's the rate of market volatility. There will be no time for you to respond when they do. Being well prepared is crucial since you can only reap the benefits if you are already in a favorable position. Plus, I've constructed something formidable to assist you in the proper manner of preparation, a roadmap to XRP millionaire status. Included are a comprehensive video breakdown, an easy-to-understand infographic, and a lengthy document. Complete information on where to stand throughout this change. You may find the detailed instructions in the pinned comment section below this video.